All right, everybody.
Cats, trees,
Earlier on
rats,
Tuesday, we had this man, Matt Venuti. We showed his video, and today, for Interview Friday, we happen to have him in studio for Interview Friday. So I'm really happy to be here. Really happy that you're all here, and let's get into this thing. Okay, happy Interview Friday, everyone. It is a beautiful day here in Los Angeles. I don't know what it's like where y'all are, but maybe you can let me know. I'm very, very happy to have finally a player of the hung, but also an incredible musician coming on here to talk to us about that instrument, but also about the multiple other instruments that he plays and his career as a musician. So Matt Venuti is a very talented musician. He's been on a lot. He's been on the TED Talks. He's travels around the country and around the world, playing different instruments. And we're going to talk to him more about that today. But first, of course, we have to breathe. On this show, we always breathe. Let's see. Chuck is here. Ahoy. Yeah. So we're going to hear some music. Bilo is here. Venuti. Yeah. All right. So in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Guignol is here. We've been talking about Guignol maybe someday playing one of these instruments. So hopefully you'll have some questions here for Matt. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. I first found out about these hung, I want to say drum, but it's a sculpture apparently. I'm learning more and more about this as time goes by. I think the first time I saw it was this group called Hang Massive. And they were playing this incredible instrument, and I was like, what the heck is this? And it just makes me feel good when I hear it. And so as I delve more into this, we had a person on the show that makes hand pans. We also have been showing different people playing these different instruments, and I didn't know what the difference between a hung and a hand pan is, but we're going to find out about that. Let's breathe one more time, in through the nose, out through the toes. Guignol needs $3,000 so he can get one. Let it go. I was able to, and we're going to get into this, but I was able to talk with the originator of the hung, Felix, and just over the email, and I got all kinds of information. So I'm going to impart that to you here. But first, we're going to show a video of Matt's that he makes music videos as well. And one of the things that he was talking to me about yesterday when I talked to him on the phone was that he's in Texas right now, and he's near where that horrible shooting occurred at Robb Elementary. And so he wanted to mark that a little bit and just honor the people that are suffering through this and all the poor children and teachers that we lost in this horrible incident. And we didn't want to bypass that, even though this show is sort of a break from all the crap going on in the world. We just wanted to acknowledge that. And so we're going to play this. This is a video of his, and it has a voiceover of Gandhi's grandson saying quotes from Gandhi while we listen to his music. So I'm going to play a little bit of that here, and then I'm going to introduce Matt. So welcome here to Interview Friday, Lunch Therapy 354, I believe. Let's get into this.
Must be the change you wish to see in the world. You must be the change the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. You must be the change you must be the change you wish to see in the world. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. You must be the change.
Yay! Matt Venuti, here he is. I'm so excited to have you on. I found your music so enriching to my life, and so it made me so happy to listen to it. And then the words that you said in the rhythm of life really touched me and touched my viewers. So thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Joel.
All right. So you're in Texas, right? And you were saying that in the vicinity, you're kind of in the vicinity where
Well,
that
actually,
shooting
I'm not in the vicinity. I'm pretty far away from where the shooting happened, but I'll be close to there next week, very close. And I don't know. When I was touring a few years ago, I was in Miami during the Parkland shooting, the Margie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, where I can't remember how many kids, but there's a lot of kids got killed. And I don't know what it is about me being in proximity to these things, but it makes me think a little bit more about the suffering that people are going through, and I can't even imagine the grief that these parents and friends and relatives and associates of all these kids and the adults that have been killed. So it gives me a little bit of a pause for reflection, and also I think that song or that spoken word with Arun speaking his grandfather's quotes, I asked him to do that because, I find that the whole theme of you must be the change you want to see in the world is never more important than now, because now's the time when people start pointing fingers and they start creating more divisions because this horrible thing happened. But I find that if we can kind of on an individual level start to show up a little bit more for people and create our own little patterns of goodness, just on a smaller level perhaps, or on a larger level if possible. But that song and that quote really rings true for me, and I really want to work on that for myself. Even going into the grocery store and being kind to the grocery store clerk or whatever it might be, not getting involved in any road rage when I'm on the road, just trying to find ways to be keep my heart open a bit.
I like that a lot. How are you began your musical journey with the piano? Is that right? Is that how you started doing music?
Yeah. Everyone in my family was required to play piano. My dad was a jazz piano player, played by ear, didn't read music at all, but he was an amazing player. And my mom had 10 kids, so we had 2 pianos and an organ going all at the same time. And then after a few years of playing the piano, I wanted to play the trumpet. Actually, I just wanted to just play like my dad. I didn't want to read music. To me, reading music was kind of it was more of a chore. I wanted to have fun and just make noise and feel out music. So I started to do that. But when I got into the trumpet, it was a little simpler for me, and I started playing the trumpet, and then I got into other instruments from there.
Did you find the piano to be kind of too cerebral, I guess? Maybe get you to head too much?
Well, not so much the piano itself, but the theory was very cerebral for me. And I was not great in school. I was never an academic person. I did go all the way through college, but I it was a struggle. I was kind of a C student in high school. Occasional B's, once in a while, maybe an A, but very rare.
Did you
I
see
just wasn't
yourself
into
as a
it.
life of, or having a life as a musician? Like when you were in college, did you major in music, or did you
No,
major in
I didn't
something else?
major in music. I didn't really even consider a music career until I saw the electronic valve instrument, and a light went off in me, and I said, that's my instrument. That's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life.
That's what
Somehow I just
really.
knew that.
Wow.
Yeah. I walked into a club in Boston,
Yeah.
and Pat Metheny's brother, Mike Metheny, was playing. He was playing trumpet the whole night. Then he whipped out this weird instrument, and at the end of the set, and I was like, "Whoa!" So
I've got
I
a
was bringing
little
people.
video here of somebody talking about it, but we're not going to listen to it. But I'll show you just so people know what you're talking about. Let me see, because I don't think people are familiar with this instrument. So that's somebody with it right there. His name's John Swana.
Yeah, that's
Do you know
John
him?
Swan, a great player. Oh yeah. I know. I mean, we've never met, but we all know each other because it's such a small community of people that play it. So I found myself early on, one of the early people playing the electronic valve instrument, and there were no teachers. There was no book. I mean, there was a small little manual, that was like a few pages long, but I just kind of made it up over time. And
what is this thing? I mean, it's really interesting. The sound that comes out of it is really interesting. But
the sound
what is it exactly?
The sound is any sound that you want with breath expression.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is go to my website and search one of the 40 or so videos that are on my website, and you'll see plenty of electronic valve instrument.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a song on my website, or video if you want to play it. It's called Big Boss, and it shows me looping it, doing a bass line, and doing a, kind of a funky horn part and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm gonna see if I can.
It's right on my
that.
homepage. I think.
I'm gonna see if I can find.
Yeah, it should be on.
Is it under music videos?
It would be on my website. It might be on the homepage.
Okay.
You see something called Big Boss? I think that's it.
Let me see. I'll see if I can find it for us. And so the instrument itself is really like a MIDI instrument. Is that right?
Yeah, MIDI, musical instrument digital interface, which for people who are new to this type of thing, it means that the controller is the electronic valve instrument. Are you able to see my hands? I can only see my neck. Are you able to?
I can see your hand just at the frame there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, it's I can interface this controller with this wacky controller that I play with any sound module and play it back with breath expression, 8 octaves, full chromatic scale like a piano.
Incredible.
And it's really amazing.
I'm calling it up here. Excuse me while I call this thing up, but I want people to be able to see it since we know here. Just a sec. Let me get it on the screen.
Yeah, there's another one on my website called Hung in EVI. Yeah. There's Big Boss.
Okay, so let's.
So I start with a drum beat. I'm accessing a drum beat through the instrument too. Check it out.
The drum beat through the instrument? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this thing.
Then I loop it.
So you've got it looping now. Okay.
Yeah.
So all the music is from this instrument? Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Wow. What's that? Wow. That's awesome.
Very flat. It's quite a flatulent sound.
It is quite a flatulent sound. That is so cool. I imagine that people would like this kind of music for, I don't know, Star Wars, something like that. Does anybody ever contact you?
It's funny you should mention that, Joel, because
really,
we did the Star Wars gala when they did the prequel. They had George Lucas had a big party and they wanted the cantina band, kind of something like the cantina band. So we got hired. My band got hired to play that gig.
Really? To play
after that, we were,
yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool.
After that, we were playing all kinds of Star Wars, Star Trek conventions, and yeah, it was fun. We played a lot of tech parties because of that instrument. So
I thought, I thought of that when I saw it because the guy, right? The guy in the cantina.
That song, yeah.
Did you play that song too? Really?
No, of course. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
So that was this. It's interesting that instrument is so techy, and you're now playing an instrument that is not techy, or I guess it's
that's kind of what drove me.
Yeah.
That's what drove me to the hung. Was I was looking for something. In fact, I put the word out to my bandmates because we all play kind of unusual instruments. One of the guys plays an African harp, the kora. The other guy's playing guitar synthesizer.
Is that the Venusians? The Venusians?
Yeah, the Venusians. Yeah. So you have pedal steel guitar player in there. Great players, by the way. But anyway, but I'm playing the electronic valve instrument and singing and doing some keyboard stuff. But but I'm dragging out all this gear onto gigs,
Yeah.
And it was just so exhausting after a while to bring out all this gear just for the electronic valve instrument. I had to bring out a sound box full of modules and mixer and all that kind of stuff. And I just said, what, if anybody finds an instrument out there that is, because I had borrowed a hand sonic. I don't know if you know what that is, but
what's a hand sonic?
Kind of electronic. It's a roundish electronic drum pad. I said, I need an acoustic version of this. Something I could just walk out into the forest with and just play nice little melody. I really almost literally described the hung. And then a friend of mine who went to Burning Man one year, my band had played there a bunch of times, but this was one of the times I wasn't there, said that they saw this guy playing this instrument, and she described it to me, and I was convinced that was my new instrument.
Yeah.
And it turns out that there's somebody in my neighborhood who actually had one. He was like the only guy.
They're super rare too, right? I mean, they're super rare. It's like everybody doesn't have them.
This is like 2003 or 4, and this guy had the instruments, and he let me borrow one, and I had already ordered one, so but it was going to be months before it came to me, and then I found a Yahoo users list for hung players, and it was like, I don't know, 20 people big.
20 people on there?
And somebody was selling one of theirs for $400, and so I said, I'll buy it. It was sitting up there for like a week, for sale. I said, I'll buy it. So suddenly I've got 2 of them, because one I ordered, and then the one that I got from him, turns out that the tuning, I actually asked Felix and Sabina to retune or to tune the one that I was going to get so it would work with that one. And so before I knew it, I had 2 hungs, and then I recorded an album called Dance of the Helix with these instruments and with the EVI and with some other musicians. And I sent them a CD, and they liked the CD, and they said, come on, visit me sometime.
Really?
And so I found myself in Bern, Switzerland, hanging out with them and kind of getting to know the whole scene. And I would go back every year or so. And I haven't been there for a few years because of COVID, but anyway, so that's kind of the story behind the hung.
Okay, so I want to tell our viewers a little bit about the hung, because I've found out more about it now since I've investigated. I spoke with Felix through the email, and Felix and Sabina Scherer, Felix Rohner and Sabina Scherer, they're in Bern, Switzerland. They make these things themselves. Apparently, it came out of the steel drum from Trinidad. And so in Trinidad, they make these steel drums out of oil drums. And so they had to fashion those. And so there were these master tuners in Trinidad that would tune these things with hammers. And this is when Felix kind of got involved in this, and he started working with this. And at some point, go ahead. Please, fact check.
So they were, Felix and Sabina were actually making steel pans well before the hungs were around. That was their gig. They were making steel pans.
Steel drums or steel pans? What are steel?
Well, they call them steel pans in Trinidad. Okay. We call them steel drums here because we have to always put a category on everything, right? So
Yeah.
one of my little things of, but anyway, yeah, they were making steel pans or steel drums, and someone visited them with an udu and had this kind of concept that they were working out to maybe make something with a melodic, where you can play with the hands,
Yeah.
kind of like with an, I don't know, I don't know the whole story there, but there was another person involved that had an idea, and Felix and Sabina ran with it, and they started making all these different shapes. I actually played the first hung when I was there once, called Hung Baby. You can see it on my Instagram.
Really?
It's like an orb.
Is it giant?
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's giant, and and they kept refining it and refining it and refining it until finally they came out with the familiar lens shape.
Yeah.
And it just shook the world, as you know probably by now.
Yeah.
There's everybody who heard this really wanted one, and they can only make so many. And
they make 80 a year or something like that. I think like 80 a year at least at some point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the
and
numbers
only
really,
certain music stores can sell them, and it's like one in each country or something like that. It's a very small amount.
Oh, you mean back in the day?
Back in the day, yeah, right. And
yeah, because now there's nothing commercially available that I'm aware of, except for some of the later instruments like the gubal and the pung, the hung ball, and there's a bunch of new instruments you can find on their website.
Yeah.
That they've made. Yeah.
I'm going to put a little video behind us here while we talk about it. This is their video. This shows them in Bern, Switzerland, and they're making these instruments by hand, and also they refer to them as sculptures. Like the hung is just called a hung, right? It's not called a hung drum or a hung.
Well, they preferred not to call it a drum.
Yeah.
And I was totally behind that too. I thought, why call it a drum? It's not a drum. If you close your eyes and listen, it sounds like it could be a harp, or it could be a guitar, or it could be a piano, but it's not a drum. Yes, you access it with your hands, and there's percussive qualities to it for sure, but they just wanted to call it a hung. So, but of course, hung drum got out there and went viral on the internet, so everybody started calling it a drum. Now, when people call it a hung drum, I used to correct people, and I'm just exhausted from all.
It's like a whole thing now, right?
Whatever. I just like, I can't police this thing anymore. I'm just kind of like, I'm just happy to play it and have and turn people onto it. And when I play my shows, I explain things to people. But to me, I'm not as invested in all the little details, as I used to think I was.
Well, you were one of the first people that really introduced this in a wide way on a TED Talk, right? Isn't that how did you perform
I'm not sure.
it?
I don't think it was the TED Talk that introduced that people. I was one of the early people to have the hung, and probably one of the early people to play it live. So that's probably where most of my, because I was playing out and I wasn't sure how to, how it was going to translate into clubs and then I realized it's not a club instrument. It's just not suited for that. It's not suited for loud environments. So, I was starting to play concerts and just, trying to figure out the place for me to play this instrument.
Yeah.
And, because I'm a performer first and foremost, and that's how I've made my living since 1989. I've just made it through performing with these instruments. So, over time, I started to develop different performance possibilities that I'd take it out on the road, and now I'm doing something completely different with the hung and other instruments with visuals.
So would you say that the music is therapeutic in any way, or maybe all music is
Absolutely.
therapeutic?
I think all music can be therapeutic depending on the listener and depending on the music, but I have heard from so many people. I'm not as sensitive as most people when it comes to music. I mean, I know what I feel, and I feel, maybe I've just been playing for so long that you kind of lose a little bit of sensitivity. I love playing with sensitivity, but people come up to me and they tell me that they've been, healed in some certain ways, and that their heart's been more opened, and and I get emails weeks afterward too, and people saying that something happened during the performance that changed something. So, So yes, I believe, and I don't think it's just the hung. I think other instruments that I play probably have, that kind of effect too. Just depends on how you play them. But the hung brought me into a more sensitive place. It's a more sensitive way to play music.
Yeah.
I was never really, into that, that kind of a place until I started playing the hung.
Have you had things in your life that you've had to like kind of overcome? And has this music helped you in any way, or
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had the death of my sister was a major motivator for me to just drop everything and just do music full time, because I realized how short life was, and there was a lot of I was hurt, I felt a lot of grief from that experience. And my dad, who was one of my mentors, when he passed, things shifted a bit more. And then my wife, who I was with for 20 years, passed away at the end of our 20th year together.
Oh no.
And that was the major shift. That was the biggest of all. And that's when I started to, I kind of disbanded the club Venusians gig and decided to just do, more inward music. And I started writing all these songs that were kind of an expression of my, in a sense, an expression of my grief, but then they transformed into, we're all going through this rhythm of life together. We're all going through the difficulty of loss and, and the stuff of life. So I realized that this music can help other people too. So that's when I started to take it on the road. And, I just wanted to touch people's hearts and help people to find a place in that performance opportunity that I extend to them to find a place to be in their heart.
Yeah. One of our viewers said he lost his girlfriend 12 years ago this July, and he knows that the music really helps. Yeah. I found that too during this COVID time, that I needed something to go to if I was in a funk, if I felt isolated, this instrument really called out to me. And I know a lot of my friends as well in this time. And that's one of the reasons that I found you, is because I listened to this a lot. And I do find it therapeutic, whereas some other things you listen to, they make you feel a certain way, like classic rock or something like that. But it doesn't necessarily feel like it's fueling you. This feels like it fuels me somehow. Like the same way when I pick up my cat, I get this feeling of love and well-being. Yeah. And I get that from this instrument. So it's kind of beautiful.
I'm very familiar with the power of the cat too. I have lots of cats in my room.
Yeah.
I actually have a video called Cats of Great Fortune. Really? And the hung is the kind of lead instrument, and the music doesn't come in until about a minute into the video. But anyway, it's fun to watch, and
we'll have
it's
to
touching
check that
at
out.
the same time.
Cats of Great Fortune. There it is. Yeah. Let's see. You said the music doesn't come in for. I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I wouldn't play. It's probably not good to play on your show because you want to hear the music. But it's about my wife feeding 20 wild, feral cats in San Francisco. She had just finished feeding 4 that we had moved from one place to around the corner. Yeah. And she had for like 15 years kept going back to that place to feed those 4 cats until the last one finally died. And within a week of the last one dying, the SPCA put notes on everybody's door in the neighborhood saying that someone up the street had been feeding all these feral cats, and they were leaving, and they wanted to know if people would put food out for the cats. Yeah. Most of them were neutered. One was not, but they're trying to catch the mama cat. There's a story behind that too. But anyway, Yolanda, my wife, was, she wanted to put food out. I said, don't do it. They're going to be our cats then. Yeah, and she says, I'm not going to let them starve, So she put the first bowl of food out, and all of a sudden we're feeding 20 wild cats and cleaning up their poop every day.
It's not easy.
And after, I got into it. And then when she passed away, I became the caretaker of those cats, and it helped me in my grieving process because those cats were amazing. They said we'd never be able to touch them because they were so wild. Well, they were coming up to me after a while and just, nipping me on the chin and they were all over me. It was great.
Oh,
But
that's
anyway,
great.
the video tells the story. Yeah.
20 Wild Cats. Kamala is
Yeah.
laughing at that story. It's so great. I love that.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself, were you ever a jazz musician, or do you put yourself in any kind of category as a musician throughout your life?
No, I mean, that's a interesting question. When I think of a jazz musician, I think of my dad. I think of my cousin Johnny Coppola, the great trumpet player. I think of Stan Getz, who I was very friendly with and who played on some of my music. I had worked with him on it. It's another story completely, but I think of those guys as playing jazz because they were playing the standards.
Yeah.
And I guess you could still play jazz and not play standard. You can make up your own music. I can swing, but I don't play chord changes like one after another and to me that kind of thing, again, it gets more cerebral for me. So I'm more into world music, I suppose. World music, but it's really my own thing. I've kind of created, in a sense, a vibe for my music that's, I don't know, one time we were typecast by the one producer as acid klezmer. That was like the early Venusians thing, and it was like that, that kind of thing. And they've got into a dance vibe. We play the Burning Man, and have a whole kind of house thing going and get people dancing. And then, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of more symphonic now because I'm doing that whole, music video. When I play my performances, I don't know if you want to segue into this, but my performances now, stop me if you don't.
Oh, I do.
But now my performances are, I'm playing with all these instruments, something called the Wave by a friend of mine, Richard Cook, which is an amazing, kind of sound instrument. It's almost like a crystal bowl, but it's a lot more accessible. And I've got 5 of them. I've got the hungs, I've got the electronic valve instrument, my looper, something called the huaca, which is a triple chambered ocarina. And I'll make these symphonic kind of loopy things with visuals going on behind me on a big screen of footage that I captured around the country. I was artist in residence in the Everglades and Shenandoah National Park, and I played in all these different, settings, in the desert, in the canyons, and the big trees, and I've videotaped a lot of these places.
Yeah.
And so I've montaged the videos together to kind of tell a story. And a lot of the video too comes from my hometown, the Finger Lakes of New York State, which is really a beautiful area. So I did a lot of winter scenes there. So I made this montage, and I'll just play a live soundtrack to it. And that's been a lot of what I'm doing on the road.
Wow, that's great. So the chat room is asking, where can they see you? There's you're touring, and they're on your website, mattvenuti.com. There's your tour schedule, right?
Yeah, and the schedule is not complete. I got to get up and start adding more performances. I had about 50 at one point, but I burned through some. So now I've got, I don't know, there's probably at least 30 or so up there. I'm going to be going to, where am I now? I'm in Houston. So I'm going to be playing like 4 or 5 different places in Texas, including San Antonio, Austin. And then I go out into Sedona, and I'll go to Tucson, then Sedona. Then I'll be up in San Francisco in Marin County. And then I go across the country again slowly. I'll be in Utah, Colorado, Missouri, Kansas,
I have the schedule up on the screen now, so people can see. I know you can't see the screen very well because you're outside.
Wherever you guys are from, shoot me an email or get me through my website. Tell me where you're from. If you want to put together something, if it's on my way, if it's not on my way, I'll do it on my way back sometime.
That's great. That's great. So this new kind. Okay, so I have a couple of videos here, and maybe it illustrates what you're talking about. I have Desert Dreams and the Anhinga Trail. Can you hear me? I think I lost you.
Sorry, I was just getting a call from Sweden.
Oh, that's what it was. From Sweden.
I don't know.
Not Switzerland?
Probably
Felix.
It might be spam. It's from Sweden. Usually if I get like long distance calls like that, it's somebody trying to sell me something.
So I have Desert Dreams and I have the Anhinga Trail. Are these examples of the
I like
kind of?
I think you should play the Anhinga Trail for sure
Okay.
because I
Set us
really
up for
like.
that.
That's when I was artist in residence in the Everglades, and that's a really fun video.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's play a little bit of that here. Just a moment.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Hey Joel, I have to ask, is there a are you can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I got the applause going. Thank you,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Now I'm getting like a ton of calls. That's really weird. Anyway,
I'm spamming you. Yeah.
Joel, is there, I'm only hearing like half of the song, like it's coming out in mono.
I think that's something that it's coming out full stream, I think, on this side. I'm not, I'm pretty sure. I've heard that before from guests where they're like, oh, the music sounds weird. But then when they go back and look at the show, it's fine. I think it has to do with the phone or whatever. People really like that. Okay. People really like that in the chat room. But yes, if we're not getting the full sound, which it's true, a lot of times, like with the gubal or some of these instruments, they have a very low tone as well. That sometimes you have to wear headphones to hear it, to really get yourself the full experience, I guess. Yeah, it says Bilo Blas says that he hears it in stereo on his, and he's a DJ, so okay. I think it's good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was all in the Everglades, and I was when I was the artist in residence there. I was there for a month, and they gave me full access to anything I needed and wanted. So I found myself walking through alligator swamps with a guide, and they took me on the hydrologist there took me on a 100-mile boat ride through the backcountry that was really amazing. So remote that they had to have two kind of life-saving buttons to press in case one went out. They'd be able to find them somewhere. Yeah, because it was so remote. It was so amazing. But did you
shoot all that footage? You shot most of that footage?
Oh yeah, I shoot all my own footage. I shoot and edit everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you travel around, do you have like a van or do you have like a giant?
Yeah, I have a mini
18-wheeler
van with a.
Yeah.
No, I have a mini. I know. I wish, huh? I couldn't afford the gas. That's for sure. I have a minivan with a coolie top on it. That keep backup of everything.
I think I have that here on your page. There you are with your. And so that's what you're traveling, and you don't have like a ton of equipment. Yeah. And what about other people that are in the performance? Is it just you, or is it? You said you have like a whole orchestra.
Mostly just me.
Yeah.
No, just me, but I took the seats out, so there's no, it's kind of like a cargo van now. So there's plenty of room, really. I mean, it's tight, but there's still plenty of room.
You had a situation. You had a situation where everything got stolen at some point, right?
I did, and it was right here in where I am in Houston.
Really? Oh no.
Sorry, here goes this.
They're calling you.
Getting my call after call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you didn't get my number out, did you?
Yeah, right. It's on the
Um,
screen. What do you mean?
it is?
No.
Oh, all right.
I'm just kidding.
I want to keep my San Francisco number, I've
No,
had it
I
for a
didn't give
long
your
time.
number out. No worries.
There they go again. Okay. All right. I don't know
Wow.
how to turn off phone calls.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so yeah, I got robbed in Houston, and yep, they cleaned out my car.
They did.
And
Just everything was just
yeah,
gone?
well, everything was gone, but I had fortunately kept my hungs and my EVI in my friend's house
Uh-huh.
because I was staying here again, and so the things that were irreplaceable were not stolen, but my sound equipment was stolen, my cameras, my laptops,
Man.
a bunch of a lot of gear. So but I finished the tour. I just kept going, and I had a little help from some people. People heard about it and helped me out a little bit. I was able to get another sound
What was
system
your
going.
thought when you saw that? Like, oh my God, like it seems like
Well, I used
is
to tell the story.
yeah.
I don't tell the story anymore because I got new stories to tell. But I'll say this: that when I opened up that
Yeah.
door and I saw everything gone, this voice shot through me and said, "This is an opportunity. It's you can make this a what were the wording of it? I can't remember. It's been a while since I
Yeah.
told the story. You could this could be a gift, or it could be a disaster, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's your choice, And
Yeah.
so I said, I don't know why I'm going to make this choice, but I'm going to call it a gift, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and something shot through me like, hey, you're going to get through this. And then, and what happened was I was touring with this one album called, what was the album called? I guess it was, I don't even remember the name of the album, but I was
Yeah.
touring with it. It was just me with a hung and my voice singing these songs. And I said, I'm going to get all my equipment back somehow, not the equipment that got stolen, but I'm going to get better equipment, stuff that I
Yeah.
really can, I'm going to use this as a benefit somehow. I'm going to get better microphones, better sound system, better this, that. I'm going to somehow make it happen. But what am I going to do about the CDs that were stolen? They stole like
Yeah.
1,000
Oh my
CDs. I said, you
God.
know what? I'm going to redo the CD and I'm going to make it better.
Yeah.
And so when I got back to San Francisco months later, I redid the CD and I came out with an album called The Rhythm of Life,
Yeah.
and it
Which is
debuted at number
really.
7 on the ZMR charts, and it got legs, and I never
Yeah.
would have done it if not for this this theft. So
I think
I
that's
suppose that
why
was one of the benefits.
think that's why I tried to extract that story out of you, because whether it's old or not, it's so relevant that
Uh-huh.
it's not what happens to us, it's how we react to it in life.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. We go right back to that. You must be the change, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because some people, feel like they're a victim of everything, and other people just seem to roll with the punches and look
Yeah.
for opportunity in what one might think is a disaster. My friend
Yeah.
Guignel here
There's
said
different levels of
disaster.
disaster.
Yeah, there's different
Yeah.
levels. I apparently use the word disaster too much because my
Yeah,
friend is like,
that was not a disaster.
you got to look it
That
up.
was an misfortune,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I could have been smarter too, in terms of where I was keeping my van and how I was,
Yeah,
I didn't have an alarm or anything, and
yeah,
I was being a little loose with everything. So, yeah.
it's great.
So I'm learning. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to end the show here. I had a quiz, but I don't think we can do it on the tiny, tiny little phone. We'll have to do it another time. But this has been so great having you on the show. I really appreciate you just jumping in, because I, discovered you earlier on this week and was like, I got to talk to this guy. So I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the message that you are putting out into the world, which is essentially about we're all in this together. And I think that is so important right now and for the world going forward, because I think there's I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the line, somebody decided this whole thing was a competition and we started fighting with one another. And it seems to have gotten to a real boil right now that we're going to have to turn that heat down on that thing and move towards realizing that we're all unified. And I think that's probably the only way we're going to heal as people, is to not keep dividing ourselves. Yeah. So keep up the great work. And I think that through the medium that you're using right now, you can hit people all over the place on a deeper level that will make a connection, because it's almost like a meditation. You know how they say if you meditate, everybody meditates together, you can create change just from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that and believe that. So, yeah.
All right.
So I hope to see you, Joel, sometime down the road, live in person, and your viewers, and go to my website and please browse around. There's a lot there.
Yeah, mattvenuti.com. I'm going to put that here. And at some point, I'm going to have to talk with Felix on this show, because there's much more that he emailed me about, which was like about how this drum these sculptures that he and Sabina make, are unique, because it's apparently an incredible process. But moving forward,
there's a lot you can read about on their website too.
Yeah,
I'm sure
they have a website as well.
A ton of material up there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So at the end of the show, I always like to play a cover song from YouTube, and I ask people, for permission to do that. I have this guy that I play often. His name is Dan Dubuque, and I wanted to show you him as we close out the show. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he plays a guitar in a sort of percussive way. So, and he's out there in Montana. So here we go. Let's get on to that. And then I'll see you soon. We'll dance it out a little bit, and that'll be the end of the show. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for being on.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Here he is. So he always does this out in the wilderness, like you do. So I thought maybe this might be a good one for you. He's playing the classic Voodoo Child.
Yeah, there you go.
He really jams on this thing. You ever play the guitar?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never met this guy, but he's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let's see what the chat room's saying these days. Chat room is saying, Matt, you're an amazing artist. Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt. Guinelle says everything is a gift.
Absolutely.
Matt is a beautiful hummingbird. Yeah, cosmic. Everybody wants you to dance. I'll dance. I'll dance for us. All right. Thanks so much for being on the show, Matt, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully we'll catch you when you come out our way. All right.
Absolutely. All the best, y'all. Thank you.